This is DX 2099, Analytical Chamber with Dr. Bright Riggs.
Greetings. You are in the chamber, the analytical chamber of DX 2099. This is where we examine the prevailing conditions in the continent of Africa and we present them to you factually as they really are. Here in the chamber, we bring to you the leaders and the experts that will illuminate the issues of the day in every country in the continent of Africa. Today, we will hear from the United Nations Award winner, Mr. Agrippa Ezozo, on the work he is doing to bring peace to Africa and the world. I really enjoyed this interview with Mr. Ezozo, and I believe you will too. Most countries have leaders that the crises in some of these countries are not such that the leaders are willing to eliminate. Like Darfur, it is very hard to think that those people will be willing to deal with ADF as at now. Suppose such situation exists, how would you approach it?
Very simple. President Jacob Zuma put it very correctly when he went to Libya for the first time.
Yes.
He said, we do not need any military intervention. We need dialogue. That is exactly our position. Military do not solve anything to you. Temporarily, yes, you're going to kill few people, destroy the building. So what happened in Darfur, which I have been involved with Darfur since 1994, is a dialogue. And that is exactly what we are putting on the table for every African continent.
When you say dialogue, though, looking at, take example of sectarian violence. In American, they do not negotiate with terrorists. I'm sure you are aware of that.
I'm aware of that.
The terrorist has to put down his weapon, has to denounce his activities before you can dialogue with them or partner with them at all. So a situation like that, let's take Nigeria for example. Nigeria is going through certain unrest, some part of Nigeria that is, going through certain unrest. A particular state, maybe one or two states. If we look at the system in America, where terrorists are not to be negotiated with, because you cannot, what would you do?
Well, Nigeria is my home. And what is going on there, it troubles me just like it troubles anyone else.
Yes.
And each and every one of us have to do what we can,
yes,
to make sure. Now, how do you solve that? And I think I was speaking to one high-level official in Nigeria just 3 days ago, yes, about what is happening. Now, when we talk about dialogue, you have to know your enemy.
Yes.
When you know your enemy, that is when you can win him over.
Yes.
You see, so when America say you do not negotiate with terrorists, they have not known the enemy. So our job is to, first of all, to know the enemy, to know what pains the enemy. And then when you come to the table to negotiate, that is when you see a true result.
Peace in Africa, peace that has eluded Africa for a long time. We just listened to Mr. Agrippa Ezozo on this peace work to bring good atmosphere and peace to Africa. Well, here in the chamber with me, I'm a regular chamber analyst. To my immediate right is Mr. Austin Oguma. Mr. Austin Oguma is the Director of Communication and Student Affairs at the American Heritage University of Southern California. To my far right is Mr. Dishek Izochukwu. Mr. Izochukwu is the Executive Director of Africa Corporation in Southern California. Gentlemen, here we are again on the peace issue for Africa and possibly the whole world. Mr. Izochukwu, what do you have to say regarding to what Mr. Agrippa Ezozo had said?
I'm in agreement with Mr. Ezozo that you have to engage the enemy. You have to know your enemy. Yes. That's very important.
Yes.
Because you cannot create peace with somebody who is not your enemy.
Yeah.
Peace is because there's already a problem.
Yes.
Two people that are warring or disagreeing must come together to make peace.
Yeah.
So it's important that dialogue is the foundation upon which that peace can be achieved.
So what we are saying is know your enemy, not the shadow, because the terrorists walk in the shadows and you don't know them. Sometimes they just blow themselves up. We can't wake them up to ask them what are you grieving about. But in a situation where enemies are exposed, then we can dialogue with them. That's what you said, right?
Yeah, it is. Even the terrorist situation, there are people behind that. We know what the forces are driving those things.
We look for those people.
Yes, we find out how to engage them and make a meaningful, peaceful resolution from that. Even the U.S. did that. I mean,
yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
What's your view?
Well, what is good about Ezozo's position is that he feels it from his own heart.
Yes.
It's very intense.
Yes.
And he believes in it.
Yes.
So he needs to reach out. He just needs to be encouraged to drive further. You know, because terrorists don't operate in isolation, just like you said. They have people behind them.
Yes.
You know, we should be able to get this off the ground just by encouraging him. The more he tries to work on it, the more the picture gets clearer.
Yes.
You'll be able to articulate it. Then people may very well embrace his own idea, and instead of shooting the gun first to find out who is hot, they might want to reach out to try to, to dialogue with you even before it escalates to that point of shooting at each other.
Thank you very much. That is what the analysts think should be done: dialogue and dialogue and dialogue. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will listen briefly to what Mr. Agrippa Ezozo has for us. Let's take a quick break.
Daddy, where does concrete come from? Mommy, where does our food come from?
The Dangote Group is one of the most diversified business conglomerates in Africa, with a hard-earned reputation for excellent business practices and product quality. Today, Dangote Group is a multi-billion-dollar company poised to reach new heights, in every endeavor competing with itself with a vision for a better tomorrow. Occupational Health and Safety Management System, OSHA 18001, 2007, certified. International Quality Management Standards, ISO 9001, 2008, certified. African champion and globally accepted quality standards. The Dangote Group, improvement, partnership and professionalism, value, security and steady returns. Touching lives every day, providing your basic needs, passionate about you. Dangote Group of Companies, an economic engine like no other.
Well, the big question on everyone's mind today is, how are we going to continue to obtain the supplies of energy that we need while caring for the environment? It's an important question because energy is required for economic growth. It's critical to maintain our standard of living and to also lift the standard of living for the rest of the world. Significant breakthroughs in technology are going to be required to meet those challenges. We have to develop all the options available to us and manage greenhouse gas emissions. Technology is the lifeblood of our company, but it's not just the technology, it's technology in the hands of people. It takes a whole cast of dedicated scientists and engineers, over 14,000 in our company alone, and a steady stream of those scientists and engineers, new talent coming in all the time with new ideas, new innovations. It's really their dedication, their commitment that will allow us to meet this energy challenge in the future.
Since we still have ex-President Nelson Mandela alive, and you know what Nelson Mandela went through, spent 27, if I'm right, 27 years in jail, his youth taken away from him, and he came out and able to establish close to perfect peace in South Africa. Have you ever met with him? And if you did, what do you think?
I met with Nelson Mandela. I was taken to him, to his office, November 13th, at 10 o'clock in the morning, 2000. When I got to his office, when he came out to shake my hand, I was frozen. I didn't know that I was going to see him. And that was the moment of my life to be able to see Nelson Mandela. And now through my involvement with President Jacob Zuma, with Bishop Tutu that I have met and been to their houses, it's a blessing to see the people that bring peace to us. My worry, though, if we lose these people, that we're able to bring peace and harmony to us for the whole continent,
yes,
what legacy are we going to leave behind for our children when we don't have what it takes to bring a single peace to a single home?
Well, most nations want to develop their economy. And then when they, hopefully, when the economy is developed, they will be able to extend to the grieving people. Mostly the grieving people are sometimes poor people that feel or felt that their needs are not being met. Do you think it is okay to squarely face economic development and then mitigate peace while you're doing that, then come back to solve the crisis or peace situation? What do you think?
I think everything has to go hand in hand, but too many often our business leader focus on the business. You think when you put the economic on the table for people, that is when you're going to have peace. Time and time again, we know that that is not true. A country like Nigeria have enough to feed the whole continent of Africa, yet we don't have the peace yet. South Africa, the same thing. The unemployment rate in South Africa is staggering. So what we're trying to say, like my first question, is it the chicken or the egg? Which one comes first? That is what we talk about in ADF. You have to be able to make sure that you ground people down on peace, so that when the economic is on the table, you will know how to split that cake into two. Instead of you say, this is my cake, therefore you don't have it. The stronger person have the cake. You have to be able to differentiate that.
Peace is what we need most in Africa. We cannot overemphasize that. Mr. Austin Oguma, what do you think?
Well, he made a point when he said that people feel that if we drive at economic development and put peace aside, they can go. Like he said, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? We have seen economies where economic developments were going on side by side with military, industrial development. Mm-hmm. We can do the same thing with peace and economic development and see which one will actually be more beneficial.
Thank you. Mr. Izochukwu, your take?
Well, you cannot have a thriving economy in an unpeaceful environment. That is a fact.
Yes.
Definitely, most of the elements that is driving unpeaceful or restful is because of bad economic policies, or
yes,
people have felt enfranchised from the economic gains of their country.
Yes.
So some kind of relationship there. But I believe that the ultimate thing is to have peace, and then all other things can galvanize around that.
But do you agree with me that sometimes crises are not always has to do with economic mismanagement or the extension of the economic gains of the nature? Sometimes it's religion. Some religion want to prevail over the other, and sometimes it's ethnic cleansing, like what happened in the Democratic Republic of the Congo and many other places, of course, that you have had ethnic cleansing, non-African nations for that matter.
I agree with you in a way, but you see, all these things you've mentioned, religious, ethnic, all that, is driven by the human desire.
Yes.
I think there's the human element of greed, of sinful nature of mankind. It's what is driving all this thing, irrespective of whatever place they try to tie into religious or whatever. It's all driven by that intent to dominate, to be able to control other people.
Yeah, that is true. Yes. Do you agree on that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all as a result of deprivation, one way or the other.
Thank you.
They look for a way to actually express themselves because of that.
Thank you. Well, that is the analysts speaking their mind on the peace issue carried on with Mr. Agrippa Ezozo. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we will listen more to Mr. Ezozo. Please stay tuned.
What does it take to fly? It takes knowing we have our work cut out for us. Flying brings more challenges every day. But if you ask any of the pilots who work here, they'll say one of the first things they learned in flight school is that if you run before the wind, you can't take off. You've got to turn into it. Face it. The thing you push against is the thing that lifts you up. So every challenge, really, is a chance to show that even in this crazy world of no liquids, take your shoes off, cost-cutting, and route cancellations, someone in this industry still has the passengers back. It starts with a simple hello, and it ends in over 350 destinations worldwide. And along the way, we'll prove we're not just building a bigger airline, we're building a better one.
I'm a Nigerian. You are a Nigerian.
Yes, sir.
We are speaking to Nigeria audience. Okay. Every Nigerian knows what is going on in Nigeria right now. Some from the newspaper, some from the word of mouth. If I may say this, that the issue we have now is Boko Haram. They name them Boko Haram, the group of people. They demand certain things. One of the things they are in demand of is to make Sharia law legal in their state or in their environment. That required to go back to the Constitution and say, this state from now on will no longer be governed by a democratic system. It will now be governed by Sharia law. Sharia law is in the Quran, their religion, scripture. So, how do you think we can approach this? When I say we, Nigeria, period, because I believe one thing. Peace in any nation is the responsibility of every citizen of that nation. It's mine, it's yours. Yes. I may have the know-how to bring it down. You might have, but now we're talking to you.
Good. Thank you, Bright. This is a very sensitive issue.
Yes.
But from a peace angle, you look at it very, very simple.
Very good.
Give what belongs to God, and give what belongs to Caesar, to Caesar.
Yes.
That is what we are taught. Yes. And I think we, Nigeria, have to learn how to do that.
Yes.
You cannot be demanding things from a government because of your religion, to say that this is what we want, therefore the government don't give it to you, then there is a chaos. So there have to be a stand, in order whereby, this is where education comes in. The consequences of us not standing up to different demand like this, what exactly is going to happen to all people? So I will say firmly that we have to make sure we separate the two, give what belongs to God, and give what belongs to Caesar. And that is the only way forward. Sharia law, we have to ask ourselves, is that the best law for every person in Nigeria? Yes, we are Muslims, we are Christians in that country. Our people, our forefathers who brought independence to us, they say one Nigeria. One Nigeria. That is what we grew up with. And we were proud of being in Nigeria. But for me who live in the north, and for some other people who from the south who live in the north, they see the differences. It is about time for us to crack down those nasty demands that goes on in the country.
I think I agree with you. You know why?
Why?
We created the problems. And we nurture the problems every day. And now we try to solve them while we are nurturing them. The problem was the problems were created by the Constitution. The Constitution was written with a pen. I do believe that with a pen we will solve the problem. Would you think that negotiating with the leaders of this group and at least giving them a promise that we will go to the Constitution that established this system and solve it from there. So they can tool down their blowing up of people for now and watch how we solve it from the Constitution and then go from there. Do you think it's a good approach?
Oh, definitely. My grandmother used to tell us when we were young. He said, when you have a pencil,
yes,
look at the pencil carefully. You can use one end to write whatever you want to write. And then when you don't like it, you can flip it over and erase it and then rewrite what you want.
Yes.
That is a very true statement. American Constitution has been revised so many times because as time changes. So you said, yes, if it is in the Constitution, I have not read it. It has to be reviewed. We have to amend it. We have to make sure every citizen is accounted for, not with violence, but with peace.
You have just heard from Mr. Agrippa Ezozo, still speaking to the issue of peace. Peace in Africa, peace in the world, and as a matter of fact, peace in Nigeria. Looking at the situation in some part of Nigeria as we speak, and he has a way of solving some of these issues. Now let's hear from the analysts what they think. What do you think, Mr. Sheikh Izochukwu?
Thank you, Dr. Rex. You know, this issue in northern Nigeria is very, very peculiar to the demands and what's going on.
Yes.
I think in the first instance, the government has a responsibility to maintain peace.
Yes.
Now, in within that concept of maintaining peace, I think it's important to understand exactly what are these people that are doing these things, how and what is driving them to do so. I believe in my heart, and I was born in the north and I live there, that every Nigerian, regardless of religious, ethnic or whatever, wants a peaceful life and a great future for themselves and their children.
Yes.
Now, in what is going on, these people collect guns and all that, and they are considered to be riffraffs who don't have any means of livelihood. Who is supplying those things for them to cause all those mayhem?
Yes.
Somebody is behind these things.
Yes.
I think that the Nigerian leadership need to come together and have a constitutional discussion on this matter. We have representatives, we have people from different parts of all these areas, their constituency under somebody's leadership.
Yes.
If your house is burning, you need to find out where it's burning and why.
Yes.
We need to get some hard answers and ask the right questions and stop deceiving ourselves. We need to be honest and come to the table and find out what we need to do. These youths need jobs, they need education, they need directions. And I think we need to find a way to bring them to be able to help them out. But we cannot do that when somebody is inciting them to cause harm because of their selfish need. So I think we need to do something here. It's not a religious issue. It's not because of Islam. It's not all those things. I think the problem is more of human element with certain greed ingrained in it that is driving these young youths to do those harm because they have no means. They give them money and they send them to war.
I think I tend to agree with you. Mr. Oguma, what is your take?
Well, I think I agree with this line of looking at it. You know, that they are being driven by individuals. You know, they are human beings that live in our mix. You know, they should be able to identify them. These children don't have any way of making income or getting income. But how do they get money to buy guns? Those are some of the issues we have to look at.
Thank you very much, Mr. Austin. Those are the takings of the analyst. I think that every Nigeria is as important as any other Nigeria. For our children to carry guns and blowing themselves up with bombs, I don't think that's what they need. I think there is something that is pushing them. And I think we should look into that and make sure that peace is established. We are talking about peace. We now have somebody that knows the way to go about it. Well, we are going to take a short break. And when we come back, we will show you a clip of a great show that is coming up next week.
The world has two real large challenges right now. One of them is to make sure that we have energy to supply our economies, improve the standard of living for people all over the world. And the second challenge is to be able to do that without harming the environment.
It's a massive amount of energy that's needed, and it's projected to grow more than 30% over the next 25 years.
There's plenty of oil around for the future. Challenge is there in more difficult places.
You have to make very large investments, and underlying it all is technology.
ExxonMobil has developed breakthrough technology like R3M.
The Earth has electromagnetic waves. With R3M listening devices, you can make sense of those waves,
which allows you to see deep below the Earth's surface before you've even drilled a well.
We have to go further afield. We have to apply more and more technology.
It's very exciting when you think about technology that not only accesses additional energy supplies, but also minimizes environmental impact.
Yes, because as you well know, the media rule the world. And when you cannot touch your leader, you don't know what your leader is doing, it's a problem. If you go to any high school in Los Angeles right now, if you tell them who is the president of Nigeria, they will not know. But ask any Nigerian kid who is the president of America, they will tell you it's Obama. Why? Because they see that in the images, they see it on television, they hear it on the radio station.
You have just viewed a short clip of the great show coming up next week. Don't miss it, because you will love it. Well, thank you very much for your time with us here in the chamber. We did, in fact, enjoy your presence, and we hope to have you next week. Until then, please be good and stay blessed.
DX 2099, Analytical Chamber with Dr. Bright R. Riggs.